Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Sure-Bilt 82030. So this was the other Memorial Day item that I had picked up along with those pipe extractors. And on that previous video, there's some comments that I didn't twist it enough. The thing about those type of pipe extractors, when you put it into the pipe, when you twist it, really 180, maybe a little bit more degrees, if you just twist it back and forth, they'll cause that cam to draw back to its minimum position. So indeed, it did not fit in that pipe. These are actual O-ring picks. Back to what I was actually making the video about. I made a lot of videos of picks, and most times, those types of picks, even Harbor Freight and stuff, those sharp tip picks, such as these. And then I've had some subscribers or viewers, particularly one I believe who works on aircraft, really, actually, I won't say he derided me. He hasn't derided me, but has really mentioned that these types of picks aren't specifically intended for O-rings because they're so sharp. It's really easy to, poke holes into an O-ring or steel that you may actually be in a situation that you have to reuse, and poking a hole in it totally ruins it. And the second thing is that these, with their sharp edges, and they're at least decent ones like these Craftsmans are made of a pretty hard steel, can scratch some of those sealing surfaces. This is pretty much what is sold, and so people just use them, and hopefully they're careful. If you know what you're doing, then you're not going to cause any damage. You're not going to use so much force, and you're going to be gentle. But these things are actually intended for O-rings specifically, and other types of seals and other picking operations. Maybe when you're working with plastics, where you need just a little bit wider of a surface that really won't damage. You could use these maybe real light pry bars for taking apart, small plastic electronics, that type of thing. I did label these as Titans because I was hunting around online. It seems that some manufacturer has marketed these to a bunch of different companies, because O'Reilly's has a set under Titan. And looking at the photos, they did look better. These Sure-Bilts seem like they're the ones that were kind of second rate off the manufacturing line, and then the first rate ones are going under more premium brands. But the Titans looked precisely the same as these, same handle and everything. Then I discovered that there were O'Reilly's, and I really went and looked at them. So the Titans did look better, but they're charging a lot more. But they seem like the same tool, just different levels of quality control. So that's the one thing we'll see here. They are actually forged, surprisingly enough. Even though the tips are stamped and bent and squished, that is all done in a stamping press, and it is a forging process. They are physically upsetting the metal in the direction of the shape of the tip, and so that it does help with strength. They don't mention what quality steel they are, but it's definitely not mild steel. These things are pretty rigid, so they come with a couple of short ones and a couple of long ones, and they have two different shapes here. One shape is kind of like an offset side paddle, and one is just a straight bent up spoon paddle. And so that's the one criticism, is sometimes you really do need more hook shapes or 90 degrees, and I'm not exactly sure why these sets don't come with more tip shapes, because there's many situations where you need odd tip shapes to really get whatever O-ring or seal you're trying to get out. And the nice thing is you can be real gentle. If you have like a little Harbor Freight grinder, you can always touch up the tips to improve them. But they, generally speaking, work pretty well. So the side spoon would just be so you can get maybe a little bit closer to an edge here, or the side of a surface. The tips aren't super sharp, so they're a little fidgety, and that's kind of why I've never been into these, and I think why I haven't ever purchased a set until now, after I've done all these pick reviews. But this has always been my issue, because I've used these at a shop, borrowed somebody else's, is that I just always have a hard time getting the darn spoon tip actually under the darn O-ring. So I appreciate these things. And actually I like having these for situations where I really need to be careful. But this has always been my issue. This is just a simple O-ring, and if I'm in this situation where I can't dig it off that way, I have to pry it up out of a groove, it just doesn't really, I just have the hardest time with it, versus getting in real carefully with this nice sharp one, kind of lifting up, and then I'm able to get under the edge of the O-ring, and now I actually have that thing and can get it out of there. So that's the one thing I'll mention with these, is they actually aren't as easy to use in my experience. That's really all there is to it. And sure, technique and that kind of thing helps, and maybe I'm really just too used to these picks. But generally speaking, I think if you're a tool collector, these things are handy. But I would just practice really good skill and care and use of standard picks, and you'll end up with a little bit more success. Because, you know, just with these type, they do work, and maybe on certain types of flat seals, they'll be easier. And maybe sharpening the tips just a little bit more would also help. But the bluntness that makes them so non-damaging to seals also makes it very difficult to get under O-rings, particularly ones that are maybe tighter fit or especially small diameter ones. Anyway, I think I'll end the review there. That was the Sure-Bilt Titan, and I'm sure there's a few other tool brands that these specific type of O-ring picks are marketed under, but I did want to do a review and actually show people what, you know, a true O-ring picks might look like, even though these are cheesy. Although one thing I'll have to say is they have a really extra thick rubber overmold. It's a really cheesy one, but to tell you the truth, it feels like it's, you know, at least 1/8 of an inch thick. It's actually a pretty soft, grippy surface. And to tell you the truth, the older you get working with tools, you kind of do appreciate these soft grip surfaces, even if being O-ring picks, they're going to be around lots of automotive fluids and will probably end up getting melted off. One would hope that they would have used a material that doesn't melt off when it's exposed to brake fluid and that kind of stuff. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Till next time, Catus Maximus out.